IIT Bombay, Mr. Mukund Kannan, Head of Applied AI, Emphasis, Mr. Anjani Bhardwaj, Senior Vice President, HDFC Ergo. So I would request all of you to begin the session with a group picture. Also, I request you to kindly come in front of the stage. Thank you. So you may begin.
Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to have a set of esteemed panelists to discuss this topic on AI transformation in Fintech. To introduce myself, I am Dr. Prasad Ramnathan, the Chief Technology Officer at the Technology Innovation Hub at IIT Bombay. I have about 32 years of experience in the industry working with companies like Honeywell, GE, Capgemini, and now at the Technology Innovation Hub. We have a group of experts at the Technology Innovation Hub who bring ideas from lab to market. We create impactful solutions that will be of value to the industry and the society at large. With that brief introduction about myself, may I request each of the panelists to provide an introduction about themselves. Mr. Harsh, can you please?
Hi, good morning. My name is Harsh Kumar. I'm heading HR and AI for Poonawalla FinCorp. So intelligence in any other form, I guess, is what I manage and look at. It's been, and thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure being here. And well, I've got about, 25 years of experience, more than that actually. Don't want to reveal the age. So I'm here because thanks for the invite from TIH itself. It's a pleasure, and well, we have got a bunch of experts too within our setup, which are helping us build AI solutions as we speak. And TIH specifically has been very helpful, so we'll cover that in one of the questions I'm assuming. Thank you.
Professor Ashutosh?
Hello, I am faculty at IIT Bombay. My area of research is verification of systems. We have recently been looking at the last, let's say, 7-8 years in verification of AI models. What do I mean by that is that if you deploy an AI model and you want to make sure that it does the right thing, we define what is the right thing and then check that property in the model. In our discussion, I will give you more detail as we go along. So we focused on building AI model which you can trust, and it is just not an accuracy is not enough, which is typically measure metric that is used in this field. So I have been working in the area of verification for, let's say, 15 years, and mostly in academia, and we are right now transforming ourselves into to serve this this need when we deploying AI model everywhere, and we do not know how to trust these models, and nobody seems to understand how to make them trustworthy.
Thanks. Mr. Mukund?
Hi, I am Mukund Kannan. I am a head of applied AI at Emphasis. I'm part of an organization called Emphasis.ai. I've been actually in the AI area for about 10 years now. I started off my journey setting up a center of excellence elsewhere. Then I worked in the startup, and now I'm actually trying to build custom solutions and build model at heart kind of solutions for different customers at Emphasis. So I'm a technologist at the heart, so I still love actually to make things work. And this is an area where I think every day you end up actually finding something new. It's like a kid in the toy shop kind of a thing I get, pretty much. Keeps me young. I'm not going to say how many years of experience. So,
thank you. Mr. Anjani?
Hi, good morning everyone. This is Anjani Bhardwaj. I'm part of HDFC Ergo group. I head digital and AI for the company. I carry around 20 years within the BFSI domain, and happy to have being here amongst you. Yeah.
Thank you. So we have a fantastic mix of industry practitioners, IT service providers, and academia in this elite panel. And when we talk about AI transformation in the fintech industry, typically what comes to mind is, okay, November 30th, 2022 is when ChatGPT got released, and everybody talks about, are you using ChatGPT? Are you using Google Gemini? Are you using Microsoft Copilot? Is it a Quen model that is better? Is it a model from Claude that is better, or whatever? The discussion often tends to surround around tools. But truly speaking, in the context of fintech, is tools the real context of how AI has to be leveraged? And my thesis today is going to be that, largely speaking, when we talk about AI, it is not something that has come about new. It is something that has been around for some time. We are leveraging it in a slightly more effective manner now. Over the past decade, most of the fintech companies have undertaken several steps towards automating what would have been otherwise manual processes, some rule-based automation, some aspects which are largely covered under the aspect of improving efficiency. So where does AI take us? And my thesis is that AI is helping us in decision making. And that is really what I would like to talk to our panelists today about, in terms of how this transformation of going from automation to intelligent decision making is where the industry seems to be headed towards. And so my first question to Harsh here is, what are some use cases that you are seeing most adopted in your fintech sector, primarily in the NBFC space, and what are some examples of quantifiable benefits that you can share with the audience?
Sure. So actually, let me take two flagship projects. Both accidentally were the genesis of our movement onto AI, and not just Gen AI, as you rightly pointed out. So traditionally, we had automation for, let's say, credit department, and Sarthi is something that I want to discuss. Sarthi is a project that we are doing along with TIH. What it does, what was happening earlier is you had machine learning models. So it's not that, and you had scorecards, and you had automation to ensure that there's a smooth progression of any document. Today, as we speak, what has happened in this particular project is that thanks to TIH and IIT, our project ensures that all the document verification, testing, checking, summarization, which would ordinarily have taken a credit analyst or credit manager an hour and a half, if not more, depending on how the time is consumed, that part is taken care of, writing of CAM is taken care of, the summarization of document, which is a Gen AI piece, along with the machine learning that you're using, ensures that there's a higher productivity. They're not busy writing and understanding document. They know what to look at specifically. Let's say mitigant. How do they ensure that the mitigants are in place, right? Earlier, they would have to go line item by line item, even if it was presented. The machine learning would score it, but it will not explain it. So today, as we speak, we are seeing between 15 to 40% improvement in productivity only on this particular side. So, and we keep on measuring. We started, as you know, that we started with personal loan, and today I think we have 7 product lines in which the system has already been incorporated. And yeah, for the road to go.
Thanks. That is pretty insightful in terms of being able to do a significant amount of loan processing, the ability to extract summarized documents. These are some of the classic use cases where Poonawalla FinCorp has seen significant amount of benefits. On the insurance side, may I direct this question to Anjani? What are some use cases where you see the insurance industry actually see the most amount of benefits, both from the traditional AI as well as the Gen AI pieces of it?
I think Harsh largely covered a piece of the extraction and summarization piece, which is becoming very prominent across the industry, not only insurance per se, right? So when it comes to HDFC ERGO as a brand, right? So being mostly digital savvy, and we've been using both technology and AI, extensively to get into solutions which are hyper personalized for our customers, right? We have seen, around 84% of our servicing happening through digital channels, and 10% is AI driven. So that's where we are. And in fact, we started our AI journey around 5-6 years back. Now GenAI is being augmented across our ecosystem. When it comes to use cases, primarily two. One is around how do we make it more assistive in nature, right? And definitely how do you use it across extraction of various documents. So if you look at insurance chain per se, being from policy issuance to servicing to claims, to decisioning, and then operations in the back end, everywhere across we look at accumulating, assessing, assimilating a lot of textual, unstructured data. So obviously AI, GenAI combined together with traditional models and scoring plus, making some sense out of it using GenAI has been very, very, impactful for us. And across the various functions, we see 20-30% of gains easily. We get that, right? It's more of how we are processing or re-engineering our processes to get it more efficient is what I say, right? So claims, underwriting, all of it. And definitely when it comes to our customers, how do we ensure that we are able to go to the market very fast, build some products or services which are very quick and easy to understand is where we have been getting into. Recently, if I give one specific example, we launched our policy issuance system, right, which is AI enabled. And today, products that we churn out, which used to take months, are now coming out in weeks. So that's the differentiation I would say. Thank you.
Thanks, Anjani. So there is a lot of capability related to summarization, the ability to explain, the ability to delegate activities, or at least get some assistance from these automated agents, which seems to have a significant resonance both in the NBFC space as well as in the insurance space. As a service provider, as an IT service provider, Mr. Mukund, where are you seeing the broad use cases that are coming across from the industry? And I know that many of you who are in the audience may be thinking, okay, how are these guys not talking about the ubiquitous application called chatbot, right? I mean, the moment you talk about anything related to Gen AI, then the first thing that comes to mind is it a ChatGPT enabled interface? Can I actually ask any questions to it? And so, yes, chatbots and their ability to leverage the corporate documents and being able to answer questions is clearly one of the things that I'm sure you are also seeing as an area. But other than chatbots, what are some use cases where Mphasis seems to be providing a lot of attention to for their customers?
So I'll probably take a little bit of a different view in terms of adoption in AI, right? So if you really look at it, the challenges for adoption are actually, I put them in two buckets. One is on the technology and business related issues of, taking AI into production and actually seeing value. And the other one is actually the user adoption and change management, right? So these are the two large buckets. Let's just kind of expand on that. The first one is, if you really look at AI projects, they get launched in a lot of enterprises for various wrong reasons, right? So if you really look at it, FOMO is the topmost reason a lot of projects get launched in the industry. So fear of missing out. So a lot of people get pressurized into actually having to do something in AI and projects get launched. And then you end up actually another crowd, which is typically that want people like me who get excited by the technology and then start something, right? And these are not how anything should get started, especially in a new technology area like AI, right? So this basically, gives us the first issue of why we see adoption actually getting a little bit of a problem, right? So if a project needs to succeed, you need to have a good problem statement that has a business value, and actually you should use a technology that suits the challenge that you're trying to solve. We had, as a good example, I'll take, we have a department called Digital Risk, which has been in the business for a while. But I think currently we are basically agentifying pretty much everything that happens through the process, right? So it's actually the business that DR is on is a mortgage loan processing, underwriting, automation. So we are actually going to, currently we combine, you know, the IDP, which is intelligent document processing. Anjani touched upon some of that. And we basically bring in a lot of insights into that for the loan processor to actually take actions on. And then certain technologies to nudge them in the right direction when it comes down to actually taking those decisions and passing it downstream to the other applications. This actually solves a big problem. And if you really look at the scale that we are handling, we handle the top 5 banks in the US, loans that come to top 5 banks. And we basically have currently about largest 4 home loans processing companies in the US. Most of that comes to us. So this is actually a really scaled solution. Solves a real business problem with huge benefits. Then the second adoption challenge is actually a little different. So if you really look at it, we end up actually creating projects, and then we basically take it to live systems, and then we figure out a lot of things that we should have thought about it from the user and stakeholder perspective before we started the project, right? So that actually causes quite a lot of issues in terms of scaling it to the next level, right? As an example, I used to basically work for a startup before I came into Mphasis, and there we ended up actually creating a discharge summary digitization, what we used to call as discharge summary digitization. You take the discharge summary, this is in the healthcare claims value chain, and then we end up actually picking out diagnosis, condition, all of that, and codify that and provide it to the adjudication systems. So we ended up having, that one actually it performed very well in the lab. The customer was very excited. They wanted it to be taken live, and we took it live very quickly. When the customer says take it live, you can't have a better, you won't have a different answer anyways, right? Took it live. Then we figured out that I think there were a lot of change management issues that we ended up actually not thinking through. So there was one case where I think we ended up getting a little bit of a negative publicity. It was actually a case where it was a chemotherapy case, and the side effect is basically hair fall, right? So in that case, it actually our model ended up picking hair fall as the diagnosis, right? If insurance companies could pay for hair fall, I would have been a millionaire actually. But anyway, that is actually certainly not there in that allowed things, and it's silly to kind of have that. And we ended up getting quite a lot of heat for that. So we took it back, put a lot of guardrails, and relaunched it. So this is actually the change management thing. The moment you actually end up providing, the model ends up providing something which is, counterintuitive or even common sense missing kind of an answer, it actually gets a rap, right? So typically the models will have to provide all the tools that actually either the user ends up using or the downstream systems using, so that the confidence, trust is something that the other panelists spoke about as well. So the trust is something that the model has to actually take into account before it goes live. So that's actually very important for us to scale. So there is, there's one cybersecurity related thing which we do for a third-party vendor risk assessment in Mphasis. It's actually built with all those components, and it actually is used by large companies today. Originally, it went with the same approach I said, but I think we put in so many guardrails and actually made it more valuable so that it is trusted by all the risk assessors today. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Mukund, for that. So one of the key things is the ability to actually change manage this entire process of introducing AI capabilities within the organization. And then Mukund very poignantly brought out this statement that unless we gain the trust of the user, there is not going to be a huge amount of adoption. And that leads me to the next question to Professor Ashutosh, in fact, who has been working in this area related to verifiability and the ability to actually validate AI models. Professor, what is your opinion on how can we build trust in these models in an algorithmic manner rather than by a manner that is largely going to be driven by users who say, yeah, I think it is okay, but it still fails a few times. So what are some thoughts that you have in this space, Professor?
Okay, hi. So before getting into my opinion on trust, I would like to showcase two examples of use in education of the latest development Gen AI. So one example is I'm teaching a large course of 700 students. A lot of students don't have a proficiency in English. So I'm providing the content in 4 languages at the same time. We are doing English. I'm in IT Bombay, so it's Marathi and Hindi and Telugu, because we get a lot of students from Andhra Pradesh. So, and the automated translation, of course, it creates a lot of errors. So you need human in the loop who checks. So what I did, I just entire course content has about 3,000-4,000 sentences that needs to be translated, and I tracked how many times you need a correction. So actually, the project started 1 year back, and we start translating, and then we are about 1 in 20 sentences you need to change, and the technology is moving so fast. Today, if you translate something, you need to 1 in 100 you need to change. So to fix the sentence, okay? So there is a big opportunity in education also. The second application which we have implemented is in interview processes. When professor is interviewing a student, and immediately professor asks this question to himself, look, what is his marks in this subject in his undergraduate degree? What is his high school score? See, there's a chatbot, he immediately asks the question, it goes in a document and brings the information, and also shows the document from which the information is extracted, such that human validation is in there, right there and there. So there is a lot of efficiency can be gained, but it has to be deployed very carefully. For example, in the first example, human has to check the translation. The second case, when you provided an answer, you should provide an evidence. Where did you get the answer? Okay. If you're saying this student has this subject, that marks, so you show me the mark sheet, okay, where you're picking up the information. So, so that means you need, when you start deploying your AI in such a critical application, such as loan dispersal or healthcare decisions, or in interview process, when you're interfering in the interview process, I mean, we cannot reject a candidate because the AI gave a wrong answer, okay? So, so then you need to bring a lot of testing and analysis needed in AI models. So a software anyway is very, very black box in nature. I mean, if you use a software, do you know really how do they really work? And today AI models are even blacker, okay? Even the people who build them often find hard to explain what it is doing. So what we do, we bring a technology in a table in which not only on the data set you check, you say what are the possible future decisions this AI model can make. Is it biased against women? Is it biased towards a particular community in society? It may reject loan of particular class of people all the time. Where we have analyzed some models which is used by some banks, we found that up to age 55 it works perfectly, but between 55 to 60 it doesn't work very well, and then after 60 it starts working well again. So why that gap was there? Because the data was missing, okay? They didn't have proper data set for that particular age gap. So this kind of deep analysis you can bring in to bring more trust. Like somebody has done this in-depth analysis, okay? So then you bring out these facts and then you fix them, and then it brings more trust. And for example, one case they have, you have mentioned is about the missing this common sense answers, okay? So those can be automatically hunted and searched. Today the technology exists, and corrected before deployment. Okay, so we need this is the technology we are building, and it can be deployed. But there's another issue that is happening which is worrisome, is sometimes problem is much more simpler and people just throw LLM at it. Okay, LLM is just too big, too complex, and problem is actually much simpler. So if you use much simpler AI models to solve the same problem, you will get solved with similar accuracy instead of throwing LLM at it. If you have a simpler system, then you can even deeper analysis you can do, and more trust can be built. Okay, so this is something has to be calibrated in the industry. What the problem is, what kind of tool chain is being applied, and is it matching it correctly? If it matches better, then someone like me who does analysis of systems can provide better guarantees and better answers to your question that is it biased? And I will say no, it's not biased, it's fair, I can prove it, okay? But if model is like LLM, too big to really explain.
Perfect. Thank you, Professor. And that probably gives some food for thought to Harsh and Anjani also in terms of, is it always necessary to go for an LLM-based solution? Can we actually make do with less than an LLM? And if it is less than an LLM, then does it actually give you all of the features that you are looking for? So these are all things that you can ponder about. But I actually think that this question of explainability, trust, speed, agility, efficiency, all of these are intertwined. And so Harsh, from your perspective, from a business perspective, I'm sure there is a need to take or adopt technologies in order to meet the business challenges and go forward. So how do you see this dichotomy of explainability versus trust versus speed versus verifiability and all that? Any thoughts around this?
Yeah, so let's start with trust, and that's something that, as you rightly pointed out, a large language model can sometimes give you an answer which can surprise you. So we were facing a challenge too, and we were giving an answer, and this was a simpler chatbot. We didn't want to use very heavy-duty stuff. It still was fetching data from somewhere we didn't know. So instead of trying to solve that, and that was leading to certain trust issue. Change management becomes impossible if people are not going to trust the data that it throws up. So we made it solve a puzzle. We, as rightly pointed out, we just didn't ask one source. We asked another slave to get us a source. So what happened is that the information now being presented was verified by two models rather than just one, and one was acting as a slave. So the advantage was trust was built. But from a change management perspective, another thing from explainability is we are using ER governance tool. So it does right from incidence mapping to what is the charge sheet or show cause to an employee, not a best of example to be given here, but we needed to have all the case history of past and what decision has the EDC taken. That's our ethics and disciplinary committee, right? Now, you have to present it to EDC that in the past similar cases, these are the actions that you did. Why? Because it becomes incredibly important in court of law to say this is all the decisions you have taken in the past and this is the rationale that you have used. Without which EDC would have taken a much longer deliberation, or my team would have taken much longer deliberation. And from a speed perspective, again, it's not necessarily that you use a large language model. As I said, there are machine learning models that one can use for solving a specific problem rather than using a heavy-duty large language model to solve all. And as far as change management, from a speed perspective, we are very clear. Another of the projects that we have jointly done, we have reduced that talent hub. We have reduced 81% of our cost, just hiring talent per se in the industry. We are now, I think, arguably the fastest in the industry. We had news, we had said about one day we release an offer from selection. I think it's down to about 49 seconds today as we speak. So that change management became easy. My whole talent acquisition team, of course, has now been reduced to 0. That's a different story altogether. Nobody lost the job, just in case everybody is wondering. But what happened is that the business which was using the system suddenly said, oh, there's potential. So the change management actually, thanks to, again, TIH and a few of the team members here, ensured that we could pick this up and run with it faster, and well, change management happened on its own.
Great. Anjani, any perspectives on explainability and verifiability and all these things that actually govern your industry too?
Yeah, it does. In fact, that's exactly where we are a little cautious around, trying to make it autonomous in many possible ways, right? So while the technology is promising, it's already showing outcomes. I think we're very cautious about, in which context we're using it. So as I had said earlier, 3 possible ways. Agentic is coming, agentic is going to be there, right? But autonomy can be only given to a level where there's supervision by a human, right? So the models are intelligent. Every day they are, evolving, and we are getting new versions coming up across the leading providers, right? I think 3 use cases are still very relevant. We are there up to the second one with some supervision. Third one is something which we are very cautious about, because we can rent technology but not the accountability. So I think it's very important as a regulated entity that we are very careful about, how we handle data, how our customers are seeing our services, how we are able to explain every decision that we make, and they are given a choice to decide in their language, which they understand, especially in terms of insurance context, right? And when it comes to explainability, we already talked about, what bias, all that stuff which happens across models, right? For a regulator, it's very important that they are able to actually scrutinize, look at the entire flow chain of how the decision was made, they are logged and they are available when this audit comes up. So it's very, very important for us, and that's why we are a little, cautious around looking at that level of autonomy. So no matter what we do and how we adopt the technology, I think humans would be there, and that's how it should be. I think because humans have heart at the end of it, right?
So human in the loop is definitely something that all of us advocate, including the panelists, and it is in that context that I would check with Mukund. Are there any governance guardrails that you're putting in place in order to ensure that anything that you build for your customers continue to meet these criteria of verifiability and explainability and all these?
Yeah, actually, that is probably one of the most important things. I mean, since the switch that we made from, the quote-unquote legacy AI, which is, the machine learning, deep learning world to the LLMs, I think there is a lot of fear in terms of, they could potentially go wrong. So we end up actually figuring out the choice of use cases to apply, which is actually a standard practice now. And more importantly, we look at the agent behavior, or even if it is non-agentic LLM, there are certain behavior patterns that we look for, and the guardrails are pretty much now starting to get more and more stronger in the industry, right? So I mean, if you really look at it, even the regulatory aspects are actually coming in surprisingly as a help, right? Regulatory is not necessarily becoming more of an impediment in terms of what we end up delivering. They are actually starting to become more of a support. So it's actually, now it is all coming together slowly in the Gen AI side. Yeah, I mean, we have our own approaches towards, and our own opinionated, points of view in terms of how we bring in, the guardrails and the necessary support infrastructure to ensure that the LLMs don't fly up the handle. Actually, interestingly, I saw something yesterday wherein I think things are starting to flip. I mean, I'm not sure it's one-off news, but there is one company which is actually using the agents are actually employing humans. Okay. So it's they end up doing a lot of stuff, but obviously there are only agents can do a few things. In fact, the tagline goes something like, "We cannot touch grass, you can," right? And the payment is on Bitcoin, so which is actually a very suspect thing with the grass and the tagline and Bitcoin and payment. We tend to wonder what it is, but I think nevertheless, I think it is starting to flip where the agents are employing humans. So we have come to a point where I think we have to live with agents doing a lot of things, and the guardrails are necessary going forward.
Great answer. And Professor Ashutosh, with your kind of balcony view of what is happening in the research world, and especially with what we just heard about agents actually using humans for some of their activities, and we actually making sure that we are still in the loop, but at the mercy of the agents, or actually as programmed by us for the agents to invoke us whenever we need. So with your ringside view, balcony view, whatever you want to call it, into the future of AI in general, Gen AI in particular, traditional AI also, what are some broad use cases that you think will be of value? Obviously, all students use it for writing code or doing their assignments and things like that. In the industry side, there would be a human in the loop who is kind of acting as a reviewer. There could be a decision-making type of an element, which we kind of heard from the panelists here. What are some things that you can see in your view going ahead?
Okay, so, but there's one point I want to connect to what Mukund said. He talked about regulation, and it's amazing that regulation in India, also in RBI's regulation, is also very much in this way. They are saying use AI as much as possible, be cautious, and they are very helpful and supportive right now. It's not becoming impediment. And so they are mostly trusting industry to bring technology which you can trust, but they are saying be cautious. So right now the regulation is not very strict, but if something goes really wrong, then they can come back, okay, with heavy-handed approach. We do not know. Okay, so but let me back to your actual question. Okay, so yes, so the Gen AI and this is a big, the code writing has become very easy. I mean, if you're a regular programmer, which I am, you realize that, you know, thing I used to take like 1 hour, I can get it done in 5 minutes. Okay, however, sometimes this 5 minute is not really helpful. Okay, because actually next day I realize actually I wanted something else. And I read back at the code, I do not understand what this is, okay? So then I lost touch what actually I wanted, and over time I forget, because I didn't put much effort. It didn't sink in my head what my system is. So I cannot think, I can't even come up with a prompt, what change do I want in this code anymore. So this over-reliance on this artifact development, writing a document or writing a code, and then humans having a disconnect with actually what is being produced, leads to sort of you're running on some kind of, it's called technological debt. Okay, when you have some technology but you really do not know where things are, okay, then how do you manage this? This is a big risk coming, and people are up. I can completely assure you that, you know, it is very helpful to program. Okay. But this extra risk, my PhD student writing, showing me code which works, but they can't explain, okay? So, yeah, so in this area, it's very effective, but this is one big risk I'm seeing, that I don't know what is going to happen in 5 years down the line to these systems. In finance domain specifically, where you know, this technology, decision making is going to be a much bigger thing, okay? The right now document summarization has been being actually the main, you know, main point has been put forward, but the decision making will become more and more done by these agents, and the question is, can you trust this? Okay, and already you're seeing many places people are deciding things based on AI models. Okay, and when this happens, people have to design systems which can take care of this trust issues. It can explain things, why it is done. The problem is that a lot of notion of explanation is being proposed in academia. You can find every year, you know, dozens of, maybe hundreds of papers are being written in top conferences. What do you mean by explanation? Okay, and you know, you basically, if you were walking on a street and you fell, I mean, my foot was not in the right place, therefore I fell. It's not the right question. Maybe there was a ditch there, okay? So who put the ditch? Why ditch was there? So what exactly constitutes an explanation is a very tricky business, okay? And so far there is no agreement. And this is a big area of opportunity both for industry and academia, if whoever wants to work on it, to come up with a good idea of what is an explanation in a given context. If you can do this, you will be extremely successful company or academician. Okay.
Thank you, Professor. So actually, the question in general to all the panelists is, and a very quick answer probably, is it a question of either a reviewer or an assistant or a decision maker, or is it a combination of all three, and depending on the circumstance, and I'm assuming that the answer is a combination of all three, but in case some of the panelists have any variation of this opinion, I just want to pass this question here. Harsh, is it a combo, or is it are you seeing a unilateral direction towards decision making?
I think it's all three. At the end of the day, why won't you use all the power that is being given? But yes, you rightly pointed out, sometimes explainability and the concept of explainability itself is tough to explain to the end user. But yeah, use all three, and actually much more. Today they are able to write their own code and review it themselves. Yes, human is required before it goes into production, or even for UAT, sorry. But I think that's something that all of us are going to use.
Mukund, any?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong if you say all three. That's better than none of the above. But I think typically you pick and choose what you want to apply. In a lot of cases, if it's basically a discrete answer that you're looking for, it is better to go with more like a Gen AI kind of a thing, wherein you are actually able to cross-validate it with other models and other domain expertise that you have built within the systems. But otherwise, it's better to kind of look for low-risk areas where you can actually just bring in those elements in there. Yeah, I mean, reviewer is always going to be there. It's not going to go away for quite a while. Yeah.
Anjani, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll concur. I think basically it depends on the use case that we choose, and it's largely driven towards what kind of risk compliance aspects are coming into picture. These three are going to be staying, and we have to decide which one fits the best, and then use it that way. So.
Perfect. We are at the last 5 minutes of the session, and if there are any questions from the audience, I'm sure the panelists would like to answer those questions. Yeah.
गुड मॉर्निंग, थैंक यू फॉर गिविंग मी अ चांस. तो सर मेरे 2-3 क्वेश्चन हैं. एक तो ये है कि फॉर लास्ट 2-3 इयर्स एआई का काफ़ी टॉक है, हाइप है. इसी तरह 5-6 साल पहले ब्लॉकचेन का काफ़ी हाइप था. आई डोंट नो इफ़ इट टुक ऑफ और नॉट, एटलीस्ट आई एम नॉट अवेयर. तो अब जैसे एआई आ गया है, तो इज़ देयर सम लेवल ऑफ इंटीग्रेशन दैट इज़ पॉसिबल, और इज़ इट गोइंग ऑन? Or can we see some products after such kind of integration in next 2-3 years? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is कि कुछ products थे fintech से related जो generative AI को precede करते हैं. They had just taken off Oken, ULI. इनके difference मेरे को अभी तक clear नहीं है कि दोनों में क्या difference है. But अब क्या इनके साथ AI का कोई integration चल रहा है? And can we see some products in next 2-3 years related to that? And third is a general question कि किसी भी financial system का one of the main objectives is to produce affordable and accessible capital. So in the medium term, next 3-4 years, are there products and services which are on the anvil, which we will see, जिससे capital accessible और affordable हो जाएगी? मेरे मोबाइल में मेरे पास ऐप होगा, मेरे को लोन चाहिए, मेरे को 2 मिनट में मिलेगा. This is question number 3. This is it. Thank you.
Any of you want to this thing? So first question was related to, well, is this really a hype, or is there anything that is realistic that is happening, and is it like blockchain? We heard about it, a lot of hype. Is this Gen AI also a hype? The short answer is yes, there is a huge amount of hype that is going on, and as all good things that happen, there will be a hype cycle after which the so-called slope of enlightenment dawns in, and we start realizing the value of this technology. So yes, and AI is not a newcomer in the field. It has been there since 1950s, and on November 30th, 2022, after the release of ChatGPT is when the third generation of AI actually has got rekindled. In my opinion, there is a huge potential for leveraging this technology, and we will see a large number of applications leveraging Gen AI going beyond chatbots in order to deliver decisions which will make the enterprise a lot more efficient, a lot less dependent on manual labor is the way things are going, and we are witnessing that already with our conversations with Poonawalla FinCorp, with a few other organizations that we are dealing with. So that is the answer to the first question. If any of you remember the second question, yeah.
I will add to the first question. Just short answer. The blockchain, they could not find an application that connects to common person, and therefore it did not live up to their hype. But think about your life. How many of you are daily using chatbot? Nobody told you to use it. You just start using. You saw it. Oh, it works. It works for me. Now it found connection to common person, and that is your answer. It's not only hype. It actually works. Okay, it affects your life. Therefore, it is going to be used. Okay.
Let me answer the third question actually. 2 मिनट में लोन मिलेगा? हाँ, मेरे करंट बॉस जो हैं वो एचडीएफसी बैंक में काम करते हैं जब मैं भी काम करता था. तो पर्सनल लोन 10 सेकंड में मिलता है, ऐसा नहीं है, एंड वो कैपिटल आपको एक्सेसिबल होगा ही होगा। एडवांटेज ये कि अभी हम शायद 30-40% लोगों को पहुंच पा रहे थे। विद गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव ऑन मल्टीपल फ्रंट इंक्लूडिंग ओपनिंग ऑफ बैंक अकाउंट, इट इज़ पॉसिबल। बिना उस हिस्ट्री के किसी को लोन देना, आपका ही पैसा दे रहे हैं एक्चुअली किसी और को लोन की तरह, वो रिस्क हम नहीं उठाएंगे। बट जैसे से ज़्यादा डेटा आएगा, जैसे से ज़्यादा लोग बैंकिंग करेंगे, 10 सेकंड क्या, मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि वो कुछ मिली सेकेंड में आपको लोन मिल जाएगा। बट आपका क्रेडिट हिस्ट्री, आपका बैंक अकाउंट, वो सब चीज़ें जो टाइम लगता था वो कम हो जाएगा। दैट्स आई अज्यूम an answer that you will be able to see very, very soon. And new product lines will get opened up. That's without a doubt.
There's a question there.
Sure, yeah, I have a question. May I?
Okay, yeah.
May I? Thank you. Like, I have been noticing all these startups are mushrooming every day. New companies are thinking, because everybody's saying AI is booming, it's an AI era and all this. You think similar thing is going to happen with these AI companies also, like earlier these .com companies were started and they just fell flat. So you think they really have a bright future, or are they going to survive or thrive, or the same thing will happen with them also? Because the market is really competitive. If one company is saying that we're going to give the result in 5 minutes time, the other is saying within few seconds we're going to give. So they are just, competing with each other only. So what's your take on this?
Right. So I'll take the question. It is true with all the hype surrounding pretty much, startups are mushrooming on a daily basis. But that is part and parcel of, how the growth happens. It's always been that you end up having large quantity before the quality emerges, right? See the same thing happening in China and other places as well. It is not something that's happening in one place. And even every technology ended up having that kind of a, the large quantity comes before, the winners emerge. And it is just that given the size and accessibility that is available today, the numbers are quite significant. And more importantly, in Indian context, it is the, the startup money, the seed money that comes in is actually available too. So we are seeing that effect today, but it is not something that has not been happening earlier as well. So very similar numbers you would have seen in .com bust period in US as well. So this is a cycle and it will happen, and it's not a bad thing per se.
Okay, I have a question.
We are probably at the end of the hour, but we will take your question.
So I have this question is for Professor Gupta. You touched upon the concept of explainability and AI engineer remembering the code, where exactly they have, what exactly they were thinking when they were writing the code, or they couldn't identify the problem. Now, Mr. Kannan said that FOMO, a lot of organizations are actually jumping onto AI. Now, as an organization, from the outside-in perspective, research perspective, what are the organizations supposed to, what kind of guardrails they put, what kind of governance checks they can put, so that if the outcomes are not delivered, they're going to actually face problem. If the outcomes are delivered, no questions asked. So what's your view on organizations, what approach they should take when it comes to explainability and the AI engineers' accountability in terms of what they have written and where they have gone wrong?
So it's very simple. I mean, ultimately your code, your document, you are responsible. You can't say AI generated it. Okay, if the bug found 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, you will be held responsible. Okay, so basically organizations, this is happening in academia. You submit a paper, they say, okay, you can have an assistant to help you write the paper, but at the end you are responsible. If you write a sentence which is auto-generated, which says a factually incorrect thing, you will be banned for 3-4 years in submitting a conference paper. Okay, you can't just blame it to AI. Similar thing, basically, organization has to be very clear. At the end, you are answerable, and if company loses money because of this AI generated code, it's you, okay, who pays. Okay, how in what form and what severity organization has to decide. But this has been a trend emerging, how to hold this entire control this situation. We want to use it. A bicycle has been invented, use it. But then, you know, knife has been invented, let's say, use it, but don't cut yourself, okay? So how do you do this, okay? So basically, whoever is wielding a knife has to be held responsible. If you hurt someone, you're responsible, not the knife, okay? So this is the really, but you need to codify it, like how much, what kind of, you know, penalty. It should be, you know, benign, it should not be overwhelming, you know, such that people are so scared of using AI. So you need to balance it out, but this is the ultimately, that comes down to it. Human is ultimately responsible.
Sharan, thank you. A small question, please.
Sure. Last question.
Sir, Vivek Kumar Pandey from Jaipur. मैं हर सर से कुछ समझना चाहूँगा. Like presently we are into a consultancy and advisory business offline. Just wanna know, sir, कि when we want to shift in AI model or online, what will be the first step we need to take, like from the offline business to into on the online business, a consultancy and advisory company? Like what need to do first? Like we are looking for a tech, we are looking for something else. Just want to know, please.
जल्दी आंसर दे देता हूँ. There's a company in which presented a paper in Australia for Australian government. Turned out पूरा AI generated ही था. ऑनलाइन ही किया और ऑनलाइन प्रेजेंट कर दिया. आपको क्या करना है, आपका प्रोसेस आपको क्लियर होना चाहिए, कहाँ आपको AI हेल्प करेगा. आपकी कंसल्टेंसी कहीं नहीं जा रही है. इन द सेंस आपका कस्टमर फिर भी आपको ही देख के वो बिजनेस देंगे. आपका काम है कि कौन से प्रोसेस जो बैक एंड पे टाइम कंज्यूमिंग थे, इनएफिशिएंट थे, वहाँ पे आप कौन सा टूल यूज़ कर सकते हैं. पब्लिकेशन, आपकी कंसल्टेंसी अगर हज़ारों पब्लिकेशन पढ़ रही है एक आंसर देने के लिए, वो वहाँ पे AI का यूज़ बहुत ही तगड़ा हो सकता है. आपका रिस्पॉन्स टाइम कम हो सकता है कस्टमर को करेक्ट आंसर देने में. बट एज प्रोफेसर आशुतोष पॉइंटेड आउट, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फिर भी आपकी है.
Thank you, sir. Got it. Thank you.
So we are truly at the end of the hour, and I do need to bring this panel discussion to a close. Let me take this opportunity to thank each one of the faculty panel members here for spending the time and sharing their views with us. I'm sure all of us will be available outside the auditorium also for any follow-on questions, and thank you all for being so patiently listening to us. Really appreciate it. Thanks.